with all my guests too. I take a little second to get okay, let's do a little smile right now, and I'll do a little hello. There she is, and it's neat that both of our walls are kind of a purpley brown. Yay! All right.
Very much turkey. There's stencils all over the wall. Very turkey.
Oh, yeah. Very nice. Eden, just be spiritual. Boom. Sananda, hi from across the world. Please say hello to our listeners and viewers.
Hello, everybody. And thank you, Eden, for having me.
Nice. Okay. She knows I'm going to give a little intro before I do an intro for her. So today we're going to activate. That's what I'm going to say. All right. So quick update. My last video with James was blocked on YouTube by YouTube. So one of my clients basically said, you know, it's a rite of passage. And then I'm permanently suspended off Twitter right after Elon bought it. So if you are a video person and want to watch the videos, I can also be seen on all the non-censorship platforms, BitChute, Rumble, and now Odyssey. And the 19 audio directories seem to be firing on all cylinders. So go there, from Spotify to Apple Podcasts to Google Podcasts. Essentially, there's no stopping this. And the more you try to control the inevitable, the louder it's going to get. And for my guest, it's really interesting. So I've had patriots on the show, truthers, and always with a spiritual bent. I seem to be moving towards more of a galactical understanding of the Great Awakening. So we have P and Cullen on the show now every 6 weeks. 2 weeks ago, we had the Planetary Activation Organization with Sheldon Nigel, and now Sananda is here. All right, so let me give a brief overview of her. Okay, so I'm going to start out. She was a former flight attendant, because I think that's really great to, you know, when we have people on the show, hey, we're humans, we're normal people. She is a galactic ambassador for the Pleiadians, NT Los, and I told her to, if I say anything incorrectly, to please correct that, and ambassador for the Galactic Nation, as well as a communication bridge and an ambassador of light. Currently, her primary mission is for the Enlightenment, and as a Galactic Nation's ambassador as a communications officer. And we'll talk to her about all of this. Oh, and I do want to talk generally about some things. So I didn't even mention that before we talked in the beginning. Is that okay? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. She communicates with galactic beings telepathically throughout the multiverse. And this info is generally delivered through light language, which I also want to chat about today. She is a gifted multi-channel and works as an advanced energy healer activator, along with any work asked for her for Earth and humanity. She currently resides at 1,000 on the David Hawkins scale of consciousness. And I want to talk about this for just a moment. And we've talked about this on other podcasts. So, and on the video portion, I'll post the actual scale. So just to give you an idea, there are 3 levels. The lowest grouping is a survival paradigm with 8 scales. The lowest is shame at a vibration of 20, and pride, which is a word that we hear a lot today in our society, resonates with 175. So moving to the second tier is reason and integrity, where the lowest vibration at 200 is courage, and then reason is 400. Then we move to the highest level, which is which is a spiritual paradigm. The lowest is love at 500, and then the highest at 5 is 700 to 1,000, and she is at 1,000. So if that gives you a real pretty picture of things. She now holds the frequency in the 8th and 9th dimension as a human, which includes having the vibration of an ascended master here in the physical. So a teacher's teacher. She is a multi-dimensional channel healer, starseed activator, priestess, energy surgeon, and more. All right. How about that? Did I get, well, there's so much more. Did that get most of it or some of it?
Yeah, it's difficult to write a bio of what you can do, because everyone has this capacity or capability. And then to write it from your heart and not your ego is you know, well, it's not difficult, but you write it from your heart, you're writing your truth, but you become so much more to put it in words. It's just a human thing, and it is difficult to put into words what you can actually do energetically once you start reaching those higher vibrations. So
Nicely put. All right. So, do you mind telling everybody how this started for you?
wow, okay. Well, I get this asked a lot. I would say that I have been awake my whole life. I just probably didn't realize it as a child. I saw, one would say, ghost, earthbound spirits. I saw angelic light. I'd see them as little twinkling stars kind of flying around. Most of my, back then, most of that was my engagement was with energy moving around the home. And I think it got to a point I had no one to support me in that endeavor.
Yeah.
And also from the age of 4 years old to about, I would be dating myself into my early 50s. I was abducted. I was a child of abduction. And in the earlier years, like the 4 to 18, and I know one happened maybe 5 years ago where it was the Greys abducting me. And first of all, anyone who's going through an abduction, it is a soul contract. You chose that experience, you chose to go through it. It doesn't necessarily mean it was a pleasant one. Most of my memories were erased. I occasionally get some back, and I really don't care because what I have seen, I'm really not interested in seeing. The Pleiadians would come in and then take me and work on me. One could say to try to reverse or whatever had happened with the Greys, then the Pleiadians would come and assist me. And now I'm having memories of remembering the Pleiadians coming into my bedroom. And yeah, speaking with me, talking with me. And so there, it is a beautiful light. So I probably didn't really even come back into my awakening until maybe my mid-30s. Definitely, it was expanding. And I think it was also, as you get older in your life, you start realizing people and relationships that you just can't be with no longer in your life. And I was moving through them much more quickly. It was easier for me to step away from, say, boyfriends or relationships just because it was just not supporting me. Then, I became a flight attendant. I was a flight attendant for over 20 years on
Oh my gosh.
a commercial airliner. And so in about November of 2016, it was interesting because I had started in 2016 going back or starting a meditation group to help teach me how to kind of pull in all that psychic energy that I had, because it was actually all outside of me and I needed to hone it in. And in that August of 2016, I heard that it was being put on the fast track. And I'm like, of course, and then you're like, okay, whatever that means, bring it on. Nothing really happened for a while, but except in November, I got injured as a flight attendant. I was out for 2 weeks, went back to work. And then by January of 2017, one of my last trips, a 4-day trip, I remember I was laying in bed and I couldn't even move. I was swollen from fingertips all the way across my arms. I couldn't move I was swollen up my neck and down my neck. And I didn't fly since. I pulled myself off the trip and went into, rehab and all of that. And I couldn't get the work. I couldn't get back to the minimums of a flight attendant. Even though they offered me my job back, I decided plan B. And during that time frame, it was like a 2.5 year time frame of going through that physical pain and transition. My gifts just started blowing open because I finally had the time to spend on me and realizing, and the beautiful people that are meant to come into your life just come into your life and they start supporting you. And I got a business started. I've never had a business before. And it just unfolds beautifully. So I just beautifully transitioned into this work. And I'm just the type of personality when something like this comes along, I am definitely a go-getter. Still a lot of healing work to do, throughout the journey. It hasn't been, smooth sailing, and not meant to be smooth sailing. We could put it that way. Otherwise, you don't learn and you don't experience. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. So ultimately, it was myself. I think I want to feel like my higher self basically took me out of my job as a flight attendant, because actually, probably the last 5 or so years of flying, I was not in a good place. I felt trapped in a metal tube because I was becoming more and more awake. I could, feel people, hear people, and I had nowhere to escape. And, I had the mentality like most people, well, I'm here to, I was making good money. I'm just going to ride through it and retire, thinking I only have 12 to 15 years to go.
Only 12 to 15. Come on.
I already have 20 in, but, I'm too young to retire. I'll just, because time seems to go fast, I'll just ride it out. And it just came, my higher self said no and pulled me out of it. So it was for me, a blessing in disguise. Yeah.
And one podcast that I listened that you were on, basically that many people are like, oh my gosh, I'd love to go through this rapid ascension path. And knowing that let's just say that I'm not on your level yet, even at this point, it is really challenging to relate to other people and to find, and you find your vibrational matches. So I am thinking about you, and there are challenges, great challenge with that. Not just fitting in. I don't want to say that, but yeah, how do you find fitting in or finding your path? How, knowing that it is difficult, what have you done?
I guess as you ascend, I've never had a problem with being alone. And so it got to a point, there was a time frame when I was working so deeply, having deconstructing my divine masculine side. And then the next year I was deconstructing my divine feminine side, bringing a balance. And during that whole time, I didn't even want to be in a relationship. It was not even on the table. I was going through too much in my life. And then it came around to when I was ready, who can I meet who's at my vibration? Because at whatever vibration you are at is the mate or the people that you're going to attract. Mm-hmm. So kind of like the birds of a feather flock together. So if you're not really liking who you're hanging with, well, maybe there's some inner work that needs to be done.
Amen to that. Right.
But I must say, at my frequency, there's not a lot of people that I've met. I have a few dear friends. I'm still out and about. I'm here to help everybody, but those within, I hate to say my frequency, there's not a lot of us yet because we're out in the forefront. And for those who, you're talking about being on the fast track, I was even put on a double time. They came back around 2 years ago, 2018 or 19, and said, you're going to go any faster. And that's soul contracted. Okay. So just, for everybody to know that's part of your soul contract. And I was like telling my beautiful, actually, his name was Samuel, I called him my bodyguard. And he says, no. He goes, I'm just delivering the message. Don't shoot the messenger. He's one of my guys. And I'm like, okay, being on the fast track can seem like from the outside amazing. And wow, look at her. She's just going. But personally, it can take a toll on you because things are happening at such a fast rate that there is no saying no. I mean, yes, you have free will, but there are times that I've tried to kind of lovingly instill my free will, and they're like, it's not part of the program. You're just going to go. So it's a yes to everything that comes to you. It's just yes, okay, yes, okay, yes, okay, and you just do it. And at the same time, it's beautiful that it's happening. I learned very early on not to say bring it on, because that's what you manifest. And if you're already on the fast track and you say to bring it on, it's like double, triple time. And it's no longer part of my vocabulary. But that's just part of my soul mission. My soul mission is to be out in the forefront and holding the frequency of, if one going to say the 144, in the consciousness, because of the work that I do. So much of it is not even public, that it's just those frequencies are needed. And I know I'm not alone because I can tap in and feel others, but most of us that are at that frequency are pretty quiet. We're not at a place where our ego says, oh, guess what I'm doing?
Right.
And that's okay for some people, and that's not to put anybody down. It's just, you have such a beautiful relationship with your ego that's just not even a part of the repertoire of being on social media and saying, oh, this is what I did yesterday. That's what I did. Yeah. It's just, you just do the work because it's needed to be done. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, let's, as I'm speaking right now, I'm going to ask everybody just to support you and what you're doing, because it is very isolating. I've discovered that myself, because you feel at some points lonely, but then you get more comfortable in loving yourself and being by yourself, which is an interesting dichotomy. Can you speak for just a moment in terms of light language? Because you also told me from the beginning, hey, I might move into some light language, so be flexible with things. And I started probably about 3 months ago doing some speaking, which at first I was like, what is this? And now I know it is that. So please explain.
Okay, light language, I have a very simple. Light language bypasses the ego mind, and goes straight and is interpreted by the heart and the higher self. There are many different languages, and the languages that come out is based on your frequency or the vibration that you are at, and how clear of a vessel that you are, meaning, are you doing your psychic hygiene and keeping yourself clear? That's also a factor. There's like what I call a universal light language that has kind of a different dialects that many people speak, but it's the same language. And I like to just call it a universal language. It's not even necessarily Pleiadian. I have said in the past that it's like a Pleiadian language, but it's a universal language that we all understand and speak it. And when these other language that come forward, these are aspects of yourself, these beautiful galactic aspects of yourself that can also be past life aspects of yourself. Like I've spoken Cherokee and Pawnee and all these languages that I didn't even know, they just come out. These are aspects of myself. And then of course, also I'm communicating at times with the galactics. They're coming in through telepathy. I usually, I hear them speaking to me, what would be in English. At times they speak through me, and sometimes they actually come into me, and and then they are speaking through me. So there are different ways of communicating with other galactics or other beautiful beings, ascended masters, or whoever it may be that want to speak.
So is there a way to figure out, like for me, for example, with it coming through, who's it coming from, or does it really even matter?
Well, I think first and foremost, just knowing it's a benevolent being, because there are other entities that will, try to come through. Usually when you're newer and on those, I don't want to say lower vibrations, but as you are ascending, sometimes
Yes.
those entities try to come in and speak, and it just having the ability of like, nope, shutting, like, nope, you're not allowed in. And then after a while, it's not even a concern or a problem. It's just because you're just at a frequency that you are only bringing in the higher realms.
Yes.
So I can feel with this activation, it's like an activation actually coming through. There was multiple galactic beings coming through saying hello. And for those who are not familiar with me, just being in my energy via Zoom or personally within my field is activating. So I can see, for those who will be listening to the podcast, I can already see who and what I'm doing to them. It's just part of what I do. And I should say, sometimes the galactics have a beautiful way, the galactics of the benevolent beings have this beautiful way of hijacking the podcast.
Yes. So being flexible, it's not even.
Yeah, say what
It's
they
just
want to say.
beautiful.
and what they
Yeah.
need to do. And I'm the vessel, and they just take this beautiful opportunity to let it happen. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
And anyone who's watching on that one, your eyes also were a little different. Oh, we got a little freeze there, but it went. Yeah, so I can definitely feel it and then see it with you as well, which is really, really cool. So if you're listening, take a moment to watch as well. How so at this point when it comes through for you, it's just so automatic. It just whatever flows needs to
yeah,
flow.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And that's part of my soul mission as being a Galactic Nations ambassador, the communication bridge, or a communications officer. I'm here to do, one could say, the interpreting of the bridge of the information and getting it out there, whatever it is. And I've just gotten, one could say, I guess, so good at it that's where the multi-channeling comes in, because I'm moving through many frequencies and speaking different languages through a role. And it can be more than one person at one time, or one galactic being at one time. I can be speaking one thing, but an also frequency of another coming through. So it's like a multi-channel of that is happening. So yeah.
Oh, so nice. All right. If you don't mind, let's talk about relationships for a moment, knowing that through this great awakening, that the truth is coming out, that anyone that does not match your vibration, it's not a fit anymore, narcissism. And you talked about too, who you are going to attract is basically who you are right now. So as we are ascending and increasing our vibration, and I've got so many people right now who are moving out of marriages. So I came out of one. It's been 2.5 years now, and there is well, I'll throw this out there too. There is some really intense narcissism right now. Like people are seeing really some heavy stuff right in front of their face. And there are a lot of people too. I'm coming out of this marriage. Oh, I want another relationship. And I'm like, hey, I would encourage you just to give yourself some time to heal, because you haven't, you're not out of this yet. And because of that, there's still pieces of that on you. So encouraging them just to relax, finding that love within yourself first before you embark on anything else. What else would you add to that?
Oh, definitely. That time frame where I didn't even want to be in a relationship, I was breaking down the divine masculine and feminine. I was also in a period where I was totally breaking down what relationships meant to me on
Yes.
every level, not only intimate, but personal, family. And I was shocked as to how much programming and fairy tale and Disney and Hollywood programming
Yes.
that is within us,
Right.
and women, you may also have family, lineage of like what, if you're not married, but like for me growing up, if you're not married after high school and having kids, you were a spinster back then, growing up in a small town in, central Minnesota. It's like, what's wrong with you? And it's just breaking all that down. And all I can say is I am so thankful that I wasn't in a relationship during that time, because first of all, when you
Gosh.
are going through this, you're never going to go back into a relationship that is 3D with
Mhm.
a male or female, it doesn't matter. You're never going to even look or consider even coffee with somebody like that anymore, because you can't even be with them in their frequency. I did come to a point where I started asking for my divine union partner to come in, and gave it over to God. I just, I made a list. This is what I do.
Yes.
And my wish list, I let my ego have it say, I let my little inner child, little girl, have her say, you
Oh,
know,
it's precious.
I just let it go. And then after a couple months, and actually, my higher self kept saying, read it, read it, read it, like every night, read it. And then I got to a point where I just actually burned it, the letter. And I gave it over to God, over to source, creator, whatever, resonates with you. And then I forgot about it. And lo and behold, by surprise, I met this gentleman a year ago on a retreat that I was helping facilitate in Greece. And we are now traveling together, and we were shocked that the union that we have together is like none that I've ever had in my whole life. There's nothing to compare it to. It's absolutely beautiful. It's divine. It's loving. There's no neediness. There's no grabbing. There's no codependency. There's nothing but love and support for one another. And yet you are each your own individual. Definitely we support each other, one another. And where I'm strong, he's weak, and vice versa. He is a same frequency of me, and his healing abilities, I guess, since being with me, have really come online, because he's kind of getting pushed because he's in my energy every day.
Yeah.
And we are together every day, and there's no arguing. We may have a discussion about something, and sometimes we, maybe walk away and think about it, and then we'll come back and say, you know what, I think I had a program, or I needed to clear, or I saw it was a trigger. But it's very mature, and I mean, I can't say enough about it, how loving it is. And it's also at a place where you don't have to sit and say to each other, oh, I love you, I love you. There's none of that googly. It's
Right.
it
just is.
It just is. And it's just not assumed. You just know you love one another, and you don't have to speak it, because you can feel it, and you know it. You intuitively know it, you physically know it, and you don't even have to say the words. It's just there. And it's just amazing. And it was interesting because when I was in Singapore, what was it, maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, because I'm very much a traveling nomad. Our soul contract came to an end, and we're sitting there, and it was myself that had the revelation around, and I said, wow, we're done. What does that mean?
Right.
And it ultimately came down to a choice of, I said, well, I would really like you to stay with me in my life and see what happens. And he said the same thing. So we were at a point where we could make a choice and start a new book. And I know when we first got together, I had cleared our karma. So that was like starting over. And then the soul contract had ended. Now we were in a place that we could choose what we wanted to do. And we chose to stay together. And by doing so, there was a lot of timeline collapsing, timeline moving, and things that I'm able to facilitate with, that was transpiring between the two of us, because we chose to stay together. I mean, we could have gone apart, but neither one of us wanted that. So it was a very beautiful, almost, if you want to call it like its own little wedding, but no wedding.
Right.
Just,
that makes sense.
it was, yeah. And since then, I've had some other beautiful, dear friends that I'm very close to, where our soul contract has ended. And we still speak to each other, but, very guided to no longer follow them on Instagram. And I just honor that. It's not easy, when your guides come in and say you can't follow them anymore because you love them and they're your friend, but you do it because it's your highest good and what you need to do for yourself. And, so yeah, it's just following the guidance. It's will take you where you need to go.
I feel, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, that your relationship with him is, because I know of several ascended folks right now who have found these divine relationships, and you guys are, again, as you're doing anyway, paving the way for other people to be able to do this. Because when you connect with someone who is at your vibration, it isn't about, you can't say the wrong thing, and you don't need them. So you're there with them, but it doesn't matter, yet it does. It's just this interesting mix of things. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. Hey, and that leads me into knowing that the chakras within humanity are going to be evolving. Can you speak on that for a second?
Yeah, the chakras, I would say the chakras are already evolving within humanity, or within Earth. They're separate, but yet together as one. So I won't be surprised if some of this comes through and the explanation comes through in light language, but don't worry, your higher self will catch it. You will know what it is. So
Okay.
don't worry about the interpretation. First of all, what I want to say, as Earth ascends, beautiful Mother Earth can take care of herself. There's nothing that we need to do to help her along. She's already doing it. What our job is to take care of ourselves. She's actually ascending a little faster than we are right at the moment. And that's where sometimes the push and the shove is being played out in the world. And also know that that push and shove and whatever's going on in the world is also a part of our consciousness that we are creating. We create that through fear. Anything and everything that is happening out there, we have created. That's why there's so many buzzwords about creating your new reality and living in your new reality, because that is the truth. I live in a world, my world, where everything is beautifully divinely orchestrated, because not only have I surrendered and I trust, but I also have faith. And I project a beautiful, if you want to call heaven on earth. And that's the type of world I live in. So a lot of what I am, so I want to make sure I am compassionate for what people are going through. I'm compassionate for what the world is going through. So it's none of that, but honestly, it doesn't exist within my realm, within my life, because that's what I've chosen for my reality. Do I go outside of my reality? Well, it's not even outside my reality and work on those things. Absolutely. But I'm called to. And that's the biggest thing, is stepping into when you are called to step into. There are soul contracts. There are things that, I might be kind of getting off tone, but
this is great.
Just to acknowledging your soul contract. Just like healers can't heal everybody. Like somebody comes up to me, can you fix me? And first of all, I'll check, do we even have a soul contract? And then I also check with the higher self. Or they'll be like, can you fix my brother? I'll be like, well, no, I can't. It's honoring that soul contract and honoring not stepping over the line or the boundary of what you're here to do, because it doesn't help. It actually kind of pushes you. It's like a negative, if you want to call it like a negative, I see what they're showing me is like this negative line or whatever coming in front of you, and it's kind of like holding you, because it's something you shouldn't be doing in the first place. So it's really honoring your intuition, and everyone has intuition, is that gut instinct. And you just kind of get used to working that so-called muscle, or that intuitive guidance, and it is always there, and we know it. So as far as getting back to the beautiful earth, we are moving into an era or time frame within this year, July, August, where a lot of these sacred sites, a lot of these places are being returned to their original frequencies. And also these hidden portals, I'll say hidden portals, are going to be activated and come online. And that has a lot to do with, like, such as myself and people who are nomads going around. We are helping activate them by having our light in these certain areas. You can still participate by either going to retreats or sending your energy there. You don't necessarily have to be there if that's not on your journey to be a nomad, but knowing that everything you do honors not only yourself, but honors the earth, the collective, the humanity, and the ascension of earth and everyone. And then beyond that, earth has to ascend, for the other planets and to ascend. We're all connected. So if we hold back on that, and actually it's not going to be held back. It's going to happen whether we want it to or
exactly
not.
Right.
We might as well join on the bandwagon, because trust me, it's a lot more fun on this bandwagon than the old one.
Yes.
And like I'm very much engaged in starting up or creating new stargates. It's just, they're showing me like following that path of where you need to go.
So can you please talk a little bit about the new earth, understanding that essentially you're already in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm living in it. I'm an eighth and ninth dimensional being. And that has a lot to do with abilities and things that I can do here on Earth. I want, first of all, people to understand the fifth dimension. There will still be some distortion in the fifth dimension. And not until, let's say, here's like, if we say the perspective of the fifth dimension, this is the beginning of fifth dimension, and this is all of the fifth dimension, and this is the end going into sixth. If there will be distortion until every single human being is here, ready to move into sixth. Until then, there's still going to be that distortion in there, just so you're aware of. But compared to what we live in now, it will be like heaven on earth, because we've moved through those lower, the scale of Hawkins, David Hawkins, we move through those lower emotions and frequencies. So when we are in the fifth, we are living in more of that loving frequency. We still just means that you're going to dip down once in a while and then you come back up, but you are able to acknowledge it and notice it and correct it and move back. But until we're all there, every single one of us, it's still going to be the dip and up and the dip and up. And even myself being a higher frequency, if I don't take care of myself, and if I'm around too many, if I'm in a situation where there's too many people that are low vibration, I can feel myself being, if you want to call it, pulled down, and I have to either step away, move away. I do some immediate clearing on myself to maintain that frequency. It is just the time that it is on Earth. It is what it is. And until we all get there, and we are there to support and help one another, we are not there to live each other's life for them or fix it for them, because they need to go through those experiences. That's what they've contracted to do for those experiences. Be there for them when they are going through it, the compassion and support, but they have to go through it. And that's all needed for us to get to the end of the fifth dimension, and I'll be there.
And I believe also, and tell my clients too, that everyone will get there. Again, everyone has their journey. Some will be faster than others. And again, time is just a paradigm. So it really doesn't exist, even though it does seem to exist. I have also, tell me what you think about this, understood that to go into the fifth, your vibration should be at least 400. Do you hold to any of that, or what would you say?
I don't really even look at the Hawkins scale, any kind of consciousness scale, because personally I think it's off. But because you have to realize that when the person beautifully made that, it was the frequency of which they received it. So I definitely honor that. That frequency has changed. I think there's something greater than 1,000. I don't know what it is. And the only reason why I know I'm 1,000 is because recently somebody said, oh my God, you're at 1,000. I'm like, oh, I am? Okay.
I'll accept that.
Right,
Great.
I'll take it. I remember, like 2 years ago, I remember being like 700-800-ish and just asking my higher self, okay, let's see if we can break to 900. And then I forgot about it because it's ultimately, it's not important.
Right. Just numbers, qualifying words.
It's just numbers. Like, it has to go back just needing to put something in a bio, beautiful bio, so people understand who you are. Because as you grow in the frequency of, even when you start getting into the fifth, the fifth to the seventh moves, I would say, moves pretty quickly, because then you got the hang of it, you know what you need to do, and you're like, okay, I'm practice. And what was I gonna say? Oh well, it'll come back around. So you will know what you need to do, and everything just works out beautifully. And wow, it really threw me off. I have this beautiful galactic being who's like right here. So I'm just going to take a moment and deliver what they need to deliver. Wokia talania ta yetikitikitikitu to shichiwala nani kitela kitikina kanemo walk taka kitikitakatlun chikitakataka tikitika oh chikitikinya. Feeling the beautiful blue avians. They've been coming in a lot lately. They're here to help. So if I could have you re-ask the question, because they kind of pulled me off to the
I
side.
can't even remember. Oh, just well, the basic part about the new Earth, what it's going to feel like, and that you're already living within it.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing what you can do. The way you see how things manifest. But to let you know, I am still going through the triggers and the healings aren't as rapid and as intense as they were going into the 5th through the 7th, because you get to the point where you've gone through so many, and if it comes back around, it's very simple and you can just move through it very quickly.
Oh, so nice.
But because of my soul mission, and what I'm here to do, and I'm also here to create with my divine partner, and that's also something new, coming into for the 5D. A lot of people, partnering up with their divine partners, creating businesses. That's all part of elevating the business system, so to speak. I still go through my things, triggers, moments, but I recognize them immediately and I know what I need to do. Even at this frequency, it is just coming back around to show me where I need to let go some more, surrender and have faith some more. And yeah, because it's interesting to me. It feels like it's stuff I've never done before, but that's not true, because we've all done it. Because basically, if you want to say we're from the future, we've come back and we've done this before, and all our timelines are happening simultaneously. So one beautiful word of advice that I say to a lot of people: if you are stuck in a situation or need to come up with something, like even creative, you just say to yourself, I've done this before, show me how I did it.
Oh, that's nice.
Before, show me how I did it. And bang, it will just release, and just walk around saying that, and all of a sudden a thought or an idea, program, or whatever it is will be right in front of you. And they're like, well, there it is. Okay.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, shoot. I just had a question and it just flitted out of my mind. Okay, let's see if it comes back around. Well, if it does come back around, do you tell everybody just for a second about the Galactic Nation, what that entails, what that means?
Okay.
I say just a second. How can that be just a second?
Yeah, I know a lot of people talk about the Galactic Federation of Life. There's pros and cons against that. And that all has to do, depending on which vibration and which timeline, which frequency you're in. Okay. I actually was a part of them, the Galactic Federation, in a few years back. I pulled myself out of it. And whatever that meant, I have no idea. I just know that I did. Yeah. And at the time I took Ashtar came with me. So for those who are following that part, that's all I know. And, I'm also to the point where I don't ask a lot of questions, because I've got so much going on, so much stuff going on. I don't have time to take and ask the question. And it's not important to me. Yeah, because I'm also here as a human, as this human aspect, to enjoy this life. But the Galactic Nations to me is everybody, all the Galactic Nations that I communicate with, that are a part of this benevolent group, because there's obviously some that are not, but just even those that are not, like we've heard of the Greys and the Reptilians, and I can tell you that even within those groups, there's some beautiful Reptilians, there's some beautiful Greys. They don't necessarily want to be either, but they're going through their journey and ascension. And I've actually when I used to do that kind of work, I was helping some of them supposedly escape, getting them on Pleiadian ships and getting them out. But it's just, it's like I can feel them here just talking about them. I can just feel them. I feel their love here in the room, and they are so supportive. And they want us to succeed. And when you're feeling called, like a lot of people recently have been saying, oh, I've been feeling the blue avians. And I'm like, yeah, they've been really coming in again. Whether you're feeling the blue avians, the Pleiadians, that also means they're here to help you. And it also means that aspect of you is coming forward and being acknowledged. So if you're kind of leaning to a certain group and also a couple months later, it's like, oh, I'm not feeling them so much, but now I'm really feeling the Andromedas. Okay, well, that's your aspect coming through, and they're working with you and helping you to remember and bringing that knowledge and information forward, because we have it all within us. And that's the biggest thing. Like even myself, I'm here as a healer, an activator. I'm here to get people moving on an accelerated course. I'm definitely like a healer's healer, getting them where they need to be, even though I help everybody. At the same time, the work is all inside work. We're just here to guide and help. And, sometimes, but that's also part of the process. And I think what my biggest thing is, what I'm trying to see is moving away. There's separation comes in play with so many things. Anytime there's you, them, me, us, I, we, blah, blah, that's all separation. And once you start looking away from that and realizing that, like you and I are star family, we're family, and seeing you and have, seeing you for that, and not seeing you separately, like, oh, you're doing a podcast and you're the guest. And I mean, and that's a simple form, but I think why they brought that into my mind is they're really wanting us to make sure that we're not living in that separation. We're supposed to be helping one another. We're not here to do it alone. That's the big thing. And I used to be a lone wolf. I used to do everything alone. And that was a big lesson that I'm still learning. So it's just, they want to help. They want you to ask them for help. And they're just, the Galactic Nation is all encompassing. They are us, we are them. Yeah.
So, so to reiterate what Sananda is saying is that, again, sometimes this can feel like a very lonely journey, and doing your own work is really challenging. Yet, as I tell everybody who comes here too, you're supported by God, the primary creator, but there's all these other beings, and it's just incredible. It's just incredible. So I'm very excited about what is coming. All right, to close this off, because I do a Just Be practice at the end. Is there you've given us so many beautiful messages. And again, I so appreciate, and I told you this before, but I'm going to say it again. So appreciate you being here, because as a teacher's teacher, just being here with me feels so good, as you expressed. Do you have a message, or is there anything that you would like to close this out with?
Just Be practice.
Absolutely. I do feel an activation coming up. So it's going to be it's going to probably be a little different for everyone. Maybe as I go through it, I'll get some information, but I'm just going to, as I say, I let it kind of queue up. It's definitely residing. There's something going on within the solar plexus. So this is going to be affecting your solar plexus. And when I look into the solar plexus, we each have a little pyramid that I see as a power center. So what I feel like I'm going to be doing, what I am going to be doing is kind of going into each of your power centers and giving you a beautiful energetic nudge. So there we go, my quantum. Hello. Oh, so it was, I know it was very short, very fast, but it was very powerful, because I saw it just blowing open all of the chakras. The crown chakra just went open, seeing this beautiful light, and then it just burst out energetically. And that's something when you raise your vibration, it doesn't take very long energetically to do something. So it's like that was like a little power session.
So
Yeah.
nice. And I'm feeling like every week something is changing within me, and knowing that it's going faster, and knowing this was wonderful as well. And it's so interesting that you and I met on LinkedIn. And I remember sending you a little note a while back going, "Oh, what you're doing is really great." And you responded to me. And then when I was ready to have you on the podcast, because I wasn't quite ready for that for myself, then I reached back out to you and said, "Hey, would you come on?" So I am I'm getting all excited. So delighted. Let me laugh for just a second. So delighted that you came on the show today, that you shared all of this with us. It's just beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. And
All
thank
right.
you for having me.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome too. All right. We're going to sign off for a minute, but let me just take a moment off air just to say goodbye. All right, y'all. I think we're all done. I think we're all done here. We've been activated. It's great. Yay. So cool of you to be here. I went from being off most social media to being on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or True Social, and you might be watching this on YouTube, Rumble, or BitChute. Or you might be listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I'm on over 19 directories at this point. So connect, comment, subscribe, like. Oh, and my intention is to have a new episode out Wednesday of each week. Oh, Lordy, more to come.